I'm going to call this meeting to order at 3:17, and our first order of business, as always, is roll call. Parliamentarian Adams. Here. Comms Director Bradley.
Here.
Treasurer Geary.
Here.
Chief of Staff Graysinger.
Here.
President McLaughlin.
Here.
Graphic Design Coordinator Pugh.
Here.
Recording Secretary Steiner.
Here.
DEI Chair Williams. Does anybody hear anything from DEI Chair?
He's going to be a few minutes late. He's meeting somebody for a class.
All right.
Speaking of that,
There he is.
What is that?
Hey, Drew, say here. Say here.
Oh, here.
Perfect. PPT Fornatero is excused for today. Senator Balfe.
Here.
Senator Sapolsky is also excused. Senator Dixon is also excused. Senator Mahone.
Here.
Senator Raith is also excused today. Senator Rangel.
Here.
Senator Sala.
Here.
Senator Richards.
Here.
Senator Mendoza.
Here.
Senator Palermo.
Here.
And Senator Osteen.
Here.
Beautiful. With that, we will move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All right, Senator Balfe, do I have a second? Senator Richards, thank you. With that, the minutes are approved. Moving forward to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Senator Mahone, do I have a second? Senator Palermo, thank you. With that, the agenda is approved. So we have Chris Brusales coming in to speak with us today. He's not here yet. He's coming from another meeting. So if everybody's good, we're just going to move forward and then jump back when he arrives. So with that, I will move to our first open floor. Does anybody have anything for our first open floor? All right. With that, I will go to reports of the Executive Cabinet. President McLaughlin.
Hello, everybody. I got a lot to say here. First off, I want to say thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all coming, and I hope you have lots to talk about with our president today. For this past week, on Monday morning, I kind of already spoke to you with this. I met with Dean Palo to discuss the Floyd Kirk issue. I brought this up at our last meeting, but just to reiterate, there are currently plans to look for a new coffee provider following the end of this year. I met with President Brusales as well last week and organized him to appear at this meeting. He clarified some things regarding his statement that he put out, which I implore you all to follow up with him when he arrives, specifically about how there are no current plans to change our DEI policies as of right now. This is something that I'm sure he can give you more information on when he arrives. Additionally, we spoke briefly about how any outside law enforcement organizations would be required to go through our public safety department. Once again, he can, I'm sure, give you more information on this upon his arrival. But yeah, we discussed some of these issues, all went pretty well. Additionally, I was able to work with Chris Hale. He will be here next week to speak with you all about a number of the new infrastructure changes we'd like to bring up with him, and to discuss the boards that our SIC committee have been talking about, as well as the heaters in Village Park and a few other changes. I additionally want to bring up with him the leaks that have been being reported in people's accommodations in especially Lawrence Hall, and to see what the school is working on with that, in regards to that. On top of this past weekend, I had to go home to attend to a family emergency, but we additionally had meetings to iron in some Pioneer Community Day things that I'm sure Catherine will speak to more for her report. We also had a meeting to figure out our elections. That is one of the other things I want to speak to you all about. Elections applications close at the end of this week. Any of you who want to be senators again will have to fill out that form so that you can want to be entered into elections when those open. And anybody interested in the president or vice president position, please fill that out as soon as you can so that we can speak to you about the regulations we have and also get you onto our forms. That is most of what I have for you guys right now. And thank you guys again for being here.
All right. As for my report, most of what Kyle just said. But we had a meeting about Pioneer Community Day just to iron out some of the final details and to make a spreadsheet of all of the expenses for that. So that was done this week. As well, I had a meeting with Treasurer Geary and President McLaughlin about the proposal for the opt-in graduate student activity fee. We will be meeting with Palo sometime, hopefully this week, to talk about that more, and then we will be bringing it to you all next Monday at our Ledge Bond meeting. As well, with elections, Kyle kind of covered it all, but we had a meeting to organize more of that. Like Kyle said, applications are open until the 21st. If you want to be a senator again, you have to refill that out so you can be put back on the ballot. Election voting will be open the 31st of March through the 4th of April, so keep an eye out for that. And as well, the presidential and the vice president debate should be the final week of March. We're looking likely at March 26th in the fishbowl, hopefully. We will keep our candidates posted on that. It'll depend on their availability once we have all of their applications in. That's pretty much it for my report, so I will move to Chief of Staff Graysinger.
Okay, yeah, so we, like President McLaughlin and Vice President Peterson said, we are working on finalizing the elections board, and we've reached out to some people, and then later we'll nominate and vote on them in here. So we've started to do that. We will let you guys know when the debate is based on candidate availability. But they pretty much covered everything for that. Make sure you fill it out, like they said. We love having you guys as senators. You have to reapply, even though you're already a senator. It takes like 2 seconds to fill out the form. But you guys should all do that. Pioneer Community Day is still Tuesday, April 8th. From 4 to 8. Hopefully the weather's good and we get to hold it outside. Otherwise, the rain location is the Lawrence Hall Ballroom. We have reached out to clubs and some other offices on campus who are going to host their own tables. It will also have tables that we will be hosting, so if you guys are free, and you mark that in your calendars, we'd love to have it. It's going to be a day of service. We just kind of finalized our ideas for the themes. We started getting the supplies for the service project, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Tuesday, April 8th. I'd like to see you all there, and that's pretty much it.
All right, perfect. Parliamentarian Adams.
Nothing to report.
All right, DEI Chair Williams.
I met with Tessa earlier this week, kind of like restructuring our order in our meetings because of scheduling conflicts with other members of the different DEI committees. I think that should be it, but I may be forgetting something, so I may have to come back to it.
All right, Recorded Secretary Steiner.
I have nothing to report this week.
All right, Treasurer Geary.
I've been in several of the meetings that have already kind of been talked about, and am processing some merchandise and promo items right now.
Comms Director Bradley.
Just, I reached out earlier this morning to the rest of the executive cabinet that I've not filmed podcast episodes with. Those will be filmed next week after I come back from the School of New York trip, and then we will be pushing out these episodes for the rest of the semester. So yeah, that's what we're working hard on.
All right, Graphic Design Coordinator Pete.
So I've been a very busy bee. So everyone knows and loves this little design that we've been using for marketing. Good news, it has text now. Oh my god, yay. It was easy, I don't know why I procrastinated it. But we have it, and like Elliot mentioned, we're gonna have some fun merchandise coming. On top of that, I made the marketing for SGA voting, and it has the QR code. You wanna vote so bad. Starting off with the camera, so bad. And then it has another little one for Instagram. And then, on top of that, I finished the marketing for the Multicultural Festival, and you guys will see that soon. And directly after this meeting, we will be discussing PCD marketing, so expect that soon if you're in the comm committee.
All right, and for PPT Fornatero's report, he just let me know that all he had to report was that we had to reschedule our meeting to put up the forms on point sync for the surveys. And with that, we will move to reports of our standing committee, Rules Committee.
We had the 2 constitutions last week that, to my understanding, were approved. Yes.
Yep.
I haven't had another club sign up yet, so if any of you are connected with presidents of organizations, tell them to fill out the Calendly link that Keely sent out a couple weeks ago. That way we can get more submissions. Christian, Sienna, and myself can get together and work on that.
All right, Finance Committee.
Just the emergency funding request process today.
All right, Comms Committee.
Just more podcast and posting of the graphics that
It's okay. And for student info, I got from Robert that they have outlined the rest of their year and have picked the rest of their initiatives for the rest of the year, and that they were not able to meet last week. DEI Committee.
Just meeting with you and President McLaughlin on Wednesday, scheduled by President McLaughlin. Thank you, Kyle.
All right, with that, I will go to reports of senators. Do any senators have anything to report?
I had that meeting about the Sky Bridge, and fiscal plan's gonna get back to us about if we can actually install that, so they're working on doing that.
Wonderful. Any other reports of senators?
Yeah, so Madigan and I have been talking about possibly doing like a water bottle drive to like reduce the amount of people who are asking for cases of water and their like emergency funding requests and such, both to save a little bit of money and to reduce the plastic that we're consuming here. We were talking about like just trying to voluntarily recall water bottles that people are not using so that we can like redistribute them to people who want them. Is that about it? Yeah.
All right, any other reports of senators? Okay, if not, we will move to old business, but there is no old business, so I will move to new business, where we have a Pinnacle Productions emergency funding. I will yield the floor to Treasurer Geary to tell us more about that.
All right, everyone. So the request that we have from Pinnacle is a little bit larger than our usual emergency funding request, simply because it was supposed to come in for spring 2. It is all of their props and set piece materials for both of their shows this semester. The total is $982.56.
So does anybody have anything specific they would like to look at on here? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you just tell me more about these productions?
I mean, yeah, sure. They're both. One of them is a theater arts capstone. They're both plays, I believe. And yeah, they'll be going up, I believe, in the Boulevard Studios relatively shortly.
Have we already seen them before? Or
We approved rights costs for them already. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I think you just kind of answered it a bit there, but just to be clear, this is just for props and costume pieces?
Props, costumes, and sets for both.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that should be their only request for the rest of the year.
All right, with all of that, do we have a motion to bring this to a vote? Senator Balfe, do we have a second? Senator Palermo, thank you. With that, if there's no more discussion, I will take it to a vote. All right, all those who approve the total of $982.56 for this emergency funding for Pinnacle Productions, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, with 7 approvals with no opposed and no abstentions, that is approved for Pinnacle Productions. All right, we will go ahead and move forward to our second open floor. Does anybody have anything for our second open floor? Yeah.
So this is something that I kind of brought in during our report and I've brought up previously, but something that that I and Vice President Peterson and our entire exec cab have wanted to do since the beginning of this is to use some of our SGA funds to do some like infrastructure improvements to our communal spaces. We've previously already discussed the boards, as Madigan brought up, and the external heaters in Village Park. Something that I want to talk to Chris Hill about when he is at our meeting next week is the potential, how to implement these. And I also wanted to bring up that President Bruce Salas, in my meeting with him, was especially interested in the external heaters. He additionally mentioned that if we wanted some higher quality ones, we will work with Chris Hill to figure out what will be best suited for our area. But if necessary, he mentioned interest for the university to offset some of those costs. So I just wanted to keep you guys aware of that. And if there are any other spaces, like communal spaces, where you think there could be any sort of small improvements or implementations, please keep us posted on this. Another small one that we've been talking about for a while is trying to find a place where you can set up like hooks for hammocks. So I just want you guys to keep an eye out for any spaces, but those are especially prior to our meeting with physical plant next week, as that will be, I assume, a pretty major part of what we're going to be talking about during that meeting. I just want to keep you guys in the loop on that, and keep an eye out.
To that point, quickly, the reset room in West Penn, the Squishmallow was stolen, so we're also going to replace the Squishmallow in there. Yeah, Felix Johnson.
Yeah, just as President McLaughlin had said, we'd met about Starbucks, at least the coffee associated with it, and there's going to be some taste testings. So we're going to announce those. So when you have when you see those, please participate, as many as you can, and give us your honest feedback. We're also going to do a survey. The class is going to do a survey, which I appreciate. I hope you have seen the improvements there. I know we haven't had a grand opening yet. We will, but we want it to be as close to as perfect as we can. The TVs are installed now, more decorations. We hung some things last Friday on the walls. That's not the end. We're bringing more archival materials in there to make it feel the different seating areas that are more comfortable, close to the entrances. So we're continuing to do that, but especially on the coffee, we're going to look at local purveyors first. So we'll announce who those maybe we won't, because that might influence people. So we will let you know that we are doing taste testings and would really prefer, and we'll give a venue and an opportunity for you to send back your comments in a sense if you liked it or hated it and that kind of idea. And we're not trying to trick you or anything. I mean, I think you are enough coffee drinkers of this generation to know what is what, but the whole Coke, Pepsi kind of thing. But again, we want your opinions because we want you to make this decision, not us. I'm a Dunkin' fan, but you might hate Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I mean, I can drink that all day. So yeah, and I'd love to go to a local purveyor. There are certain, not limitations, because we do have some control of that, but we'll try to be as inclusive as we can to the local purveyors, because there's at least 3 or 4 in town that we have a pretty good option. There's Primo and there's different ones. There's a couple in the Strip District, and we'll do that before the end of the semester. Planning for the grand opening. I mean, I'd like to try to do something, even if it's a naming announcement before the end of the semester. I think that's worthy. I owe that to you all, and I'd at least do that. But I think the big splash will be when everybody retires for fall 25. But we'll get the TVs working. We'll do all that, even in the meantime. There's going to be a selfie wall in there, which is cool. That we're going to continue to make that a real homey place. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, if Chris is not here, do you just want me to adjourn the meeting?
Can I just ask a question
Yeah.
about that real quick?
Yeah.
And I think you kind of answered this, but I was trying to follow. Is your plan then, when we do the coffee taste and then hopefully are finding a provider, are you planning on doing the big name reveal and switching the coffee and the new thing all at once, or are you going to slowly implement these?
I mean, we've done a slow again, it's hard when school starts, because we didn't have the summer to do the splash. This was a fall initiative, which was a great initiative that we started with this entrepreneurship class, then the advanced entrepreneurship class. So the summer is the best time. So if you're asking me right now, I'd probably do the name and let you know what the name is going to be. And then when fall comes and we cut this, we'll make all those grand announcements, like this is our new coffee purveyor, this is who we are, and those kind of ideas. We're doing some menu changes. We're not taking anything away, we're adding. And that's due on responses of surveys and feedback from students of what they want. I don't want to reveal that yet, but we're going to you'll see more and more being added. So again, we want this to truly be, I don't be over dramatic, the living room of the campus where you go in, you feel comfortable, and you notice the cushions appeared on the steps. Little things like that might make a difference. Just to test it out. The steps can be hard, and we understood when we designed that what we wanted it to be. You're going to see Pioneer Records, performing more often, those kind of things on a regular schedule. So we want it to be, and we're going to get rid of that. It's hard, but and it's kind of because we built it this way. But we want to get away from that coffee house more to a cafe. So the name will kind of fit that. And again, we just have to make some aesthetic changes, like we have to take the word coffee house off the front end so that people go, you're trying to do that, but yet it says coffee house. Put the new name up, some new neon, all that kind of good jazz. But it's going to take over the summer when we can actually shut it down, and when it is shut down, at least temporarily for a little while, to get those things accomplished. So probably the name, Kai, to be honest with you.
Just another question, and I know this hasn't been as much of a conversation as it was earlier on in the process, but I know that there was talk from President Brusalis early on about the addition of some sort of like beer and wine distributor on campus. I didn't know if this was something that was going to continue thing that we were talking about, or if there was still any consideration on that. Obviously, I think if that's, I'll be gone by the time that's implemented. If it isn't, but for the future of the 21+ community on Fort Park's campus, I wanted to ask if there was any updates on that.
I mean, I think it's quiet right now. It's something that I don't think is forgotten about. I think it all just depends. It depends on the availability of licenses. It depends on the cost of licenses. If you look out there right now, and I'm sure it's public knowledge that you can go out there, I think the average cost for a liquor license is $125,000. That's not cheap, folks. And we don't, it all depends. But there are certain ways. There's different licenses, and things like that. So I think it'll be continued to be talked about. And again, when you see the name and the change in name, it all makes sense because it could all be encapsulated in that if we choose to go that way. If not, it still makes sense that if it's not, it's still going to be that cafe to offer food. I think we're going to continue to grow that without a doubt. So we'll probably add another oven next year, so that the speed is more because we're offering more hot items, and then we look to you all. There's going to be multiple surveys. And again, I know survey fatigue sits in sometimes. They're short, they're quick. I promise you it won't be a 120 question survey. It's more like, okay, you see the menu, what do you want changed? And it's your voice that makes those changes. We don't just arbitrarily go, hey, let's just add this, knowing very well that you all don't want that. And that's not what we're looking for. So please feel free. You all are the drivers in this, not us. We just want to continue to keep it fresh and keep it attractive for you all so that you feel comfortable in that space. Well, hold on. He said, on my way.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I will, if there's nothing else for our second open floor, I will move to announcements. And no major announcements except for what we said last week, that the SGA applications are open. You've heard us say again and again, but if you want to hold this position again, you have to reapply. So that is it for our announcements. I am going to I'll do a 5-minute recess as we wait for Chris to come in. So it is 3:42 now, so see you all in 5 minutes. we are through most of our meetings, so if you are ready, I can yield you the floor.
Sure.
All right. We're back.
How's everyone doing?
Good, all right?
Yeah? Semester's going well?
Yeah.
Final stretch?
Yeah.
Right? Can't believe how fast it's going. It seems like after January, it just flies. What do you guys want from me? What questions do you have?
Just to sort of start us off, I wanted to ask, now that we're a while into your time as president, how do you feel our university is standing in regards to the Pioneer 2030 vision?
Yeah, good question. I just got off, I was on a faculty assembly committee meeting and talked about, just this. Things are looking really good for the university. When I started, we were on like a lot of schools, we were on a downward trajectory. A lot of schools were losing enrollment, and you can't sustain. It's a business, right? You can't sustain that way. So, when I came in and built my team, we've turned it around. So it really starts with enrollment because we are a tuition-driven institution. So when I came on board, I started too late to impact enrollment for fall of '24, but the only lever I had starting so late was actually in athletics. And we made some changes right off the bat, which got us ahead, so we were up. So we had like almost 6 years of decline. And so when that happens, that loss accumulates, right? Because you have a loss of, you're down your freshman class. Well, that stays with you for 4 years, right? And so we've turned that around. And last year, unfortunately, a lot of our peers had losses of they're down enrollment 5 to 25%. We were up 10. And that's without the benefit of being able to promote and market all the new programs that we have in place. So we should have a bigger positive hit this year. In fact, our deposits are up by 40% over last year, which is huge. Our strategy, so I was a strategy consultant. That's what I did. Large corporations, Fortune 500s, and large institutions like healthcare systems, colleges and universities. And so as a strategy consultant, okay, we're the downtown university, let's embrace that. In fact, I would rather be a downtown university today than a university in a rural area like where I went to school. Because, there's a change in perception about higher education. There's a big focus on workforce development, right? There's nowhere better to be than a downtown university, and particularly Point Park. Experiential learning is in our DNA, as you guys all know. We believe in you get work experience right away, and your coursework should be, should be practical. So what we did is we positioned, I started, right after COVID, and so, it's my belief that urban areas across the United States, they're in the post-pandemic world. You guys may have seen this in some of the articles where I've been interviewed. In the post-pandemic world, unfortunately, office workers aren't going to come back in droves, right? These downtowns are going to transition, and they're going to be driven by the creator economy. Downtowns are going to become centers of arts, entertainment, recreation. Well, guess what? That just so happens to be our sweet spot as a university, right? We have a lot of creators at this university. So we're positioning ourselves that we have an opportunity to grow. And we put a stake in the ground. We are going to bring in 1,000 new students, living, working, learning, playing downtown Pittsburgh. No one else can do that. No one else, no business, no one else can do that. And so our value proposition is, hey community, come and invest in us. Because we're the only ones who are able to pull this off. And we will be, and I've been saying, and I coined the term Renaissance 3, And it's, the lieutenant governor approached me the other day and said, Chris, you guys are going to be the catalyst of Renaissance 3. Well, that's good whenever people are starting to repeat that. We will. And so what we're doing is creating a win-win. We're enhancing the value and promise of the university, we're growing the university, and we're also benefiting the community that we're in. And one of those things was moving into the NCAA Division II. Whether you're into sports or not, athletics is typically the front door of any significant college or university. And the amount of opportunities that it provides. And I go to some of our sporting events, even esports. First esports event I went to, I saw 5 people playing, but there are 15, 20 other people in the room. All these other functions, producers and this and that, and it creates a lot of activity for the university. So just that announcement alone just significantly enhanced the visibility of this university. We were never on the front page of the Post-Gazette, particularly Post-Gazette sports section. That happened. We were never mentioned in the local television news. That's happening now. And so, we're trying to significantly enhance the visibility and prominence of this university because it's going to benefit all of you. It's going to benefit all of you for the rest of your life. So, so far, the plan, knock on wood, change isn't easy. And I told the faculty and staff, buckle up because we're going to do things differently. And because if we don't do things differently, the outlook doesn't look good. And so we're doing things differently, it's good. It's working out. I think we improved, so every week I meet with my cabinet, every week. 2-hour meeting every week, every Tuesday morning. We start off our meetings focused on three things. We talk about KPIs, key performance indicators. We talk about enrollment, because we are a tuition-driven institution. We talk about advancement, bringing outside dollars in to help support and augment programming, facilities, things like that. And then the third thing we talk about is retention. I am probably most proud of, you see what's happening with enrollment. We're hitting it, and we're gonna bring in those 1,000 people. Once we bring in 1,000, I want to bring in another 1,000 more, because I think we have the capacity. And we have a great offering. In advancement, we're doubling what we're bringing in year over year. In the 2 years, we've doubled what we bring in. And we have some major initiatives. Hopefully they come into place this summer, which is going to be huge, a huge announcement. So we're really, really stepping things up in how we raise money, our alumni engagement. We just didn't have a culture of philanthropy at Point Park. And part of it's, kind of our lineage. We started relatively young. We were founded in 1933, business training college, heavy commuter school, came of a 2-year college and a 4-year college in 1966, then a university in 2003. We're trying to build more of a residential. We love the commuter students, but we're trying to build more of a residential presence here. And it's working. We're also trying to build a culture of philanthropy. We're engaging alumni like we've never engaged before. I came from a school where I think, I don't want to say the number because I could be off, but well into double-digit alumni giving. Here we're single digit, right? So we need to get to that level to ensure that the sustainability and that we have world-class facilities here. I mean, you see what we have some world-class facilities here, but we also have to work within our means, and we pay attention to to capital improvements. We have a lot of elevators on this campus, which is expensive, which keeps me up at night. So we pay attention to those things, but I also think it's important that we have world-class facilities. And hopefully there will be one announced this summer, and more housing. We're getting close to capacity with housing. We have a lot of options to us in housing, I wouldn't want to be in commercial real estate right now. It's really sad. It's really sad. As you can imagine, I get offers fall in my lap every week. Could you buy our building? Could you take it over? You know, it's sad. And, you know, I tell our folks, okay, let's keep our powder dry, because next year, unfortunately for them, fortunate for us, the prices are going to come down another million, another couple $1 million, right? It's sad. But we have opportunities. You know, we brought the Urban Land Institute in to do a study to look at our positioning in downtown. How do we build and benefit the university while also benefiting downtown? A couple things were identified. One was, in this area, we need more housing, creating inter-institutional housing. You know, the PRT is creating a busway between Oakland and downtown. So there's opportunities for our students to, you know, go up to Oakland and interface up there. And also, you know, if I'm a graduate student at Pitt, where'd I rather live? South Oakland or downtown Pittsburgh? You know, probably I'd want to get out of the, you know, a little more tamer environment, right? So there's opportunities to have more mix of students, and there's more opportunities for us to create more housing for ourselves and also others. Another thing that was brought up in this ULI study was Boulevard of the Allies. You know, the folks from the ULI Urban Land Institute, and these are experts from all over the country, came and did an assessment, spent like over a week with us, talked to key stakeholders at the university and the region. And one of their things they noted, they said, well, Pittsburgh has this fourth river. No, we already have 4 rivers. There's one underneath, but it's really 5th river. They have this river running right through the middle of campus, Boulevard of the Allies. It's 5 lanes. It used to be 6 lanes, believe it or not, right? There's photos of Model Ts, 6 lanes of Model Ts. Well, you don't need a major thoroughfare, major highway running through the middle of a university campus. And so, you know, there are opportunities to tame that down. You know, we're trying to create more of a residential campus here. There are opportunities to, you know, improve that area, create medians, more green space, things like that. Another thing that was identified is we need a gathering space. We need a big gathering space. And, you know, when I've been talking about the downtown community event center, that's the crown jewel. And I think if this initiative happens, we're hoping for this summer, it's going to give us momentum to move in that direction, hopefully sooner than later. And this downtown community event center will be modeled just like the Playhouse. And the Playhouse isn't just a, you know, beautiful facility. It was a $65 million project with 3 beautiful theaters. The Playhouse is a learning lab for students across all disciplines. Our students are running that Playhouse. You know, it's not just the performers, it's students in the communications department, you know, business, arts and sciences, engineering. We started a new entertainment production engineering program. So this would be fashioned the same way. You know, we've developed a relationship with some heavy hitter companies in live entertainment. There's this complex called Rock Lidditz. It's in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. It's a big campus. It's like NASA in the middle of an Amish cornfield. And 2 big companies anchor it, Tate and Claire. They have 80–85% of the world's market share in live entertainment. So we're developing relationships with them. We're trying to collaborate with them. And this event center would be fashioned around live entertainment. An arena-type facility, a learning lab for our students across all disciplines to learn the disciplines of live entertainment. And oh, by the way, you can also play basketball here, volleyball, wrestling, intramural sports, world-class recreational facilities that we need, right? And then in the summer, when we're not here, wow, what a wonderful, wonderful facility and asset for the youth in our community. You know, so this is the vision. This is what we're trying to create here. You know, our vision is we want to become one of the most dynamic urban universities in America, and I think we're on our way. And the exciting thing is you're all part of this. You know, it's you, our students, faculty, and staff are doing this. It's not me. I was international president of my fraternity, male fraternity. We had an open motto, and our open motto was one man is no man. One individual can't get things done. It's leverage, 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 right? And it's the entire team doing these things. It's, you know, it's our students having, you know, robust programming on campus so that students want to stay here, so it attracts new students to come here. There's word of mouth. This is a place to be. There's some buzz here. This is a cool place. It takes that. It takes outstanding faculty to attract students and retain students and give students the best career advice so that students get out here and land, follow, and are able to follow their dreams. That's what it takes. Yeah.
To your point about wanting this to be more residential, I know that there was rumblings about potentially making accommodating housing for non-traditional students, like students that may be single parents or something. Has there been any moves to potentially doing that?
Yeah, so we've been talking. So one of my things, and I've said this publicly, Pittsburgh Scholar House. It's operated under our roof. They just had a change of leadership. But that's an example of something that's outstanding. Pittsburgh Scholar House is a program for single parents, and I think a majority of those parents are black single mothers, and to provide housing for their families. What a core thing to have, families, being part of our campus community. I'd like to have housing for faculty in residence, artists in residence, being part of our campus community. I mean, that's we are blessed to have probably one of the most diverse colleges or universities in the country. And as a business person, I think that distinguishes us, that differentiates us. It's good business. And so, I want to see, our Pioneer Vision 2030, our strategic plan, is all about let's lean into our strengths. Let's lean into our strengths and use those to augment, create resources to then shore up some of the other areas of our plan.
So you mentioned that we were advancing athletics for the purpose of increasing enrollment. I'm concerned about not having ours on the existing arts community. Do you have any plans for retaining them?
Yeah, so athletics is just one piece of it. I don't know if there's anyone more committed to the arts than I am. I think one of the ways that we're growing is we happen to have probably one of the top conservatories of performing arts in the country. And so you saw the move that we made this January. We restructured the conservatory to create 2 schools. And that's the whole reason for that is to provide more opportunities for our students in both of those schools. And that's one of the ways that we're growing. We're using the moniker of our conservatory, reaching out to other areas in the country that are not suffering the same traditional age student demographic loss, areas in the country that don't have a dynamic urban university nearby, and then creating synergies with our other programs. I mean, in our School of Business, we have an outstanding sports, arts, entertainment, and we added music management to the program. There's a synergy there, right? Like I said, all these downtowns are transforming or become centers of arts, entertainment technology, and media. There's a synergy there. You guys are familiar with our new Center for Experiential and Innovative Technologies. So, I happen to be friends with Dr. Don Marinelli. Don Marinelli and Randy Pausch founded Carnegie Mellon's Entertainment Technology Center over 25 years ago. Randy Pausch wrote the book, The Last Lecture, died of pancreatic cancer. World class, Carnegie Mellon's at ETC. I said, hey Don, would you do me a favor? He's a Pittsburgh guy. I said, would you take a look at what we have here? And he toured our facilities, and actually, can I bring an old colleague with me from Carnegie Mellon? I'm not believing what I'm seeing. Toured him again and said, you have a problem. I'm one of the experts in the world in entertainment technology. And entertainment technology bleeds, the synthesis of what we do in the arts and performing arts and communications and arts and sciences, engineering. It's interdisciplinary. He said, I'm one of the experts in the world in this field. Point Park wasn't on my radar. That's cool, because I can fix that. The other thing he said, and he came from Carnegie Mellon, I've been teaching at Carnegie Mellon for 33 years now, part-time, the graduate level. He said, Carnegie Mellon cannot hold a candle to Point Park and some of the assets and facilities you have. I said, really? It's interesting. I said, okay, Don, what I want you to do is I want you to come back to me with a strategy. If you and Randy were doing this again 25 years later, and you were the king of Point Park University, because kings, believe me, have a hell of a lot more juice than the president does, what would you do? What would your strategy be? And he came to us with a strategy. Let's start a center for experiential narrative technologies. And you think about it, it's brilliant. So think of the words, experiential narrative. Narrative is storytelling. It's what I did in business. It's what I do as a university president, as an advocate, right? It's what you do in most of your disciplines. Performer, business, communications, arts and science. It's creating a narrative. Okay, experiential narrative. How do you get the target of that narrative to experience the story, experience the narrative? And then technologies, how do you leverage technology to pull this off? And so, to do something like this, like the ETC 25 years ago, you could only do this in a couple places in the world. Like Carnegie Mellon University had very robust engineering and computer science. Today, it's a different play. All those tools are built. You still need the CMUs to tweak the tools, but the tools are there. We own this. This is in our wheelhouse. We own this. We own this space around the narrative. So we're starting this off as, first round makerspace. Students across all 7 of our schools. They're going through boot camps right now, learning about virtual reality, augmented reality, generative artificial intelligence, drone operations, whatever. In this semester, we started offering certificates. Next year, we're probably going to start adding graduate programs and undergraduate programs. But look at the power of this. We are positioning our students because we know that pretty quickly, 20% of the current jobs are going to go away. Job classifications are going to go away because of AI. We're not shying away from it. We are embracing it. We're equipping our students that they are going to go to their workplaces and they're going to tell gray hairs like me, hey boss, there's a smarter way to do this. Or you could use these types of AI tools or models to do what you're trying to accomplish and get a better result. That's where we're positioning our students to have that kind of value. And so, this is totally interdisciplinary. I don't care what your background is, it's a total interdisciplinary approach. And so that's what we're trying to do these things. We are proud to have a very strong conservatory. We are proud of the arts and we're embracing it, but it's not at the expense of the other disciplines. Because this world is an interdisciplinary world. It requires, problem solving. Another thing we just did is we have these incredible graduate programs, PhD in community engagement, a PsyD program, and we're doing these things in the community. You may have read, this summer they did a study that you need to have public restrooms downtown, right? Turn into the Pittsburgh potty. We got more press out of that Pittsburgh potty than anything else, right? You need to have clean alleyways. What's the rationale? Why? And what's technology? That's all done by our graduate students. So what we're doing is we are institutionalizing this, and we are creating an Institute of Community Engagement. This will be a storefront for the community to come in. Hey, come approach us, community, with your problems, with your opportunities. Allow our students, undergraduate and graduate students, to apply what they're doing in the classroom to help solve these problems or seize these opportunities. Allow our graduate students and our faculty to do translational research and consulting to solve problems for the community. So those are some of the things we're trying to accomplish. Yeah?
I'm going to pivot a little bit,
Yeah.
if that's okay. I know that you've already sent out an email discussing this, but it's kind of a hot button topic
Yep.
right now. Some people were wondering if you could reaffirm that there are no DEI changes coming.
Yeah, none that I'm aware of. We're monitoring, on our staff and also through our trade associations what's happening. I mean, it's a moving target. you know, I see no changes. I mean, you know, we are all about, you know, like I said, we are probably one of the most diverse colleges and universities in the country. It's a differentiator for us. We're all about inclusivity, so we are not going to, I don't see any changes coming on the horizon.
So kind of in a similar vein to that, and just to provide a little bit of context to the question I'm going to ask, like I'm sure you've followed the news recently, you've seen the stuff about Mohammed Khalil was detained, he was, you know, not charged with a crime, he was detained as like a retaliatory measure, and the Secretary of State has stated that the State Department is like planning to continue to do that around the country. So my question is, if ICE or another similar organization were to appear on campus and attempt to detain a student without any sort of actual charge, what is the plan in place? Is there a plan in place?
So, yeah, we have a plan. We've had actually a long-standing policy on this campus. We're a private institution, and we will always cooperate with law enforcement, you know. You know, law enforcement has not, and they can't come into our facilities without a search warrant. That's been a long-standing policy, and that policy has worked. You know, they have to contact our campus police and their procedures in place, and so we'll just, you know, we'll just keep maintaining our policy. Okay?
I've heard that potentially the business school has moved forward with some DEI pushbacks. Do you know anything about that?
No. No. Like what?
I don't have any more information other than that. Does anyone have any more information?
The only thing that we have heard is that there has been consideration of changing like language in some of their policies, and we're waiting to hear back from the Dean of Business right now to meet with him just to ask about what the specifics are on that.
You know, we've been scouring our information, and we haven't found anything that's even in any way in violation against any of the executive orders, so we're proceeding as we always have. What else? Yeah.
Another pivot sort of back to what we were talking about before. I know you brought up the restructuring that's happening with COPA. I know we have a number of COPA students in this room now, and obviously our constituency has a large number of COPA students. I wanted to ask if you could give any more detail about what COPA students can expect to see in this upcoming school year.
I think more opportunities. I think it's so exciting. You know, the idea came from the dance faculty, actually. And as you can imagine, you know, there's a little bit of tension between the president and the faculty, right? I'm trying to run the business so everyone else can be professors and be students, but someone has to run the store, right? So, you know, as you can imagine, and you know, we've been very, in dance in particular, been very, very successful. And, you know, my whole thing is, well, there's a lot of talent in the world, and we turn away a lot of students, and there are students who could benefit by being in the same room. But I also get it, you know, it's a conservatory model, and we don't want to impair the quality. So, you know, what I would hear is, you know, from faculty members, and well, Juilliard accepts 12, 15 people a year, and we accept 100. And, you know, my response was always, okay, what's the difference between 100 and 110? Tell me, what's the difference, right? And so you know, this is just a brilliant solution by creating a separate school of dance and a separate school of theater, film, and animation for a lot of good reasons. So instead of having one in school dance, instead of having one department of 384 students, I get it. It's tough to pass a straight face test when you call it a conservatory model. So now what we're moving, instead of one department of 384, 2 departments of 200, right? So we started with a department of concert performance, which is ballet and modern, and then a department of commercial performance, which is jazz, and then we just added hip hop. Because everything I go up to Broadway a lot, developing a lot of relationships, and you know, all over the country, LA and Atlanta and Nashville, and I see everywhere is hip hop, right? Commercially, Super Bowl hip hop. So we added hip hop. What we think is hip hop's going to take off. In fact, when we made the announcement, we were getting calls from faculty members all across the country, hey, can we come to Point Park and teach hip hop? Well, we're blessed we have the best hip hop teachers in the country right here, which is cool. We have a competitive advantage. But we think that that is going to take off, and we may create a third department with just hip hop. Maybe we'll create a fourth department the next year, focus on some other areas. So it's basically we're providing more intimacy. Instead of a department of 400, departments of 200, more breadth and depth. So maybe we start a department that focuses on choreography and education, whatever. So that's the thing to be able to grow, a solution to grow and maintain the quality of our most prominent discipline, right? At least most well known. The advantage for School of Theater, Film, and Animation is there are pockets that were really underperforming. And I couldn't figure out how in the hell are these areas underperforming, particularly in cinema arts, just the enrollment numbers. And I had a gut. I thought the name was an issue. Because I'm trying to think, it's quite a few years since I was 17, but I'm thinking if I'm 17 years old, or if I'm a parent, which is more in my ballpark, cinema arts, what the hell is that? It's not the study of the history of cinema or whatever. Let's call it what it is, film and animation. So we did some research, and we think that's going to fix some of the issue, not only for enrollment, but also the prominence of the degree, right? To benefit you as a graduate alumnus. So we changed the name, Theater, Film, and Animation, plus we're able to put now emphasis and attention and spotlight on that school. Whereas I think it kind of was overpowered a little bit occasionally by the 800-pound gorilla. Our dance is so damn successful. So it's going to benefit students in both of those schools. And again, those are strengths. Let's go with it. And then we infuse some pretty good talent. I don't know if you guys know Gary Klein. We brought him over as an associate. Well, Keisha Lalama is a force of nature, the new interim dean. We were able to recruit Gary Klein. Gary Klein, let me tell you, head of musical theater and voice at Carnegie Mellon. At Carnegie Mellon is a different model. They take 10 people a year and they create 10 stars. 10 Broadway stars, 10 television stars. Every major national talent who you would know, you watch them on TV, in the last couple of decades were his students. We were able to get him here. That is huge. That is already opening up so many opportunities. And then we brought in Michael Campagno. Big time Broadway, film. He played Wolf on Sound of Music when it was on TV. I mean, big time. Brought them here. We're working on some Hollywood producers and writers. We're going to get them here. This is big time. Because these folks have the networks, they open doors for our students. They attract students because their name students know. They know better than I do who are the, just like in dance. I mean, students want to come here for dance because of the quality of the faculty, right? But they're also going to create opportunities. This is all about creating more opportunities for our students. I want our students, if they have a dream, I want to give them everything we possibly can to give them every chance possible to achieve their dreams, whatever that is. That's what this is all about.
We've spoken kind of about like arts and sports and also like business. What are you doing to support like political science, biosciences, psychology, English, like some of the departments we didn't touch on?
So, psychology, there's been some exciting things going on. I think there's been growth in that area. I mean, I think we've added a new program in psychology.
There's a new master's program, like in the cut of the PhD program.
Yep. And they're doing an amazing thing in the field through that PsyD program. Yeah, I think, well, political science, public administration, we are developing relationships with local governments to try to infuse interest and opportunities. So yeah, we are hitting it across all of our programs. They're all valued because, you know, a comprehensive university needs to have high quality programs across the board. And you know, we're not growing areas at the expense of another area. We're trying to raise all ships. What else? Yeah.
This is also kind of a pivot, but you talked about, I think it was deposits you said were up
Yeah.
30%. And obviously you hope to grow that. Has that come with any pivots in like marketing strategy?
Oh yeah. So when I came on board, made a lot of leadership changes. We're totally changing the way we go to market, and hopefully you've seen it. Hopefully you've seen Point Park has never had the visibility in the community that it's had in this last 2 years. I think someone did an analysis. We were getting over $1 million or almost sometimes $2 million a year in value of earned media. Earned media, not media we have to pay for, earned media, because we have a strategy in place and we are out there, we are out and about, and we are making substantive announcements. We are making major announcements, doing major things that media wants to report on. And what that does is benefit anyone. You talk to anyone in the community, I'm out in the community every day, all people talk about in the community is the buzz of, what's going on in Point Park? Point Park's on the move, Point Park this, Point Park that. It's benefiting you. It's benefiting you as you graduate, trying to get jobs. It's going to benefit you the rest of your life as an alumnus. And you know, we're working hard at this, and we made a lot of leadership changes to make this happen. We brought in some major talent to make this happen. We're getting results. Yep.
You've spoken a lot to the interdisciplinariness of the arts and athletics, and that sounds amazing. But I've also heard that there have been some conflicting interests between dance and athletics, specifically with the dance sports team, since it's kind of in the middle. Can you speak to your team's navigation of the intersection of dance and athletics?
Well, I think we need to grow some of these, you know, so there's NCAA sports, which the NCAA sanctions. Like, for example, esports, they were under the athletic umbrella. We had to move it outside of athletics because the NCAA says, oh, we only recognize these sports. So I'd call those, you know, club sports or whatever. We're growing in esports. We're growing, you know, Keith's heard me say this, when I go to games, basketball games, and I see our cheer team out there, our dance team, you know, Keith, we have one of the top dance schools in the world. Why can't we get more people to participate, right? So we're doing those things. We're starting a pep band, right, to have more of these clubs. You know, we're building our intramural program, right? For the first time ever, we're starting an intramural program. If we get these facilities, we'll be able to do more of this. I'm also working on a project with a well-known professional sports team to see if we can get a field nearby campus to have intramurals. And also would benefit us in our intercollegiate athletics as well. But I think these things are important. I mean, I benefited as a student. It benefited me the rest of my life. It's one thing, you know, I benefited from the classroom. I worked hard, you know, checked all the boxes. But where I really gained a lot of traction and a lot of leverage that served me the rest of my life were being involved in things like student government, athletics, other clubs on campus. That's where you really hone your leadership skills, and you learn, you know, what you were first exposed to in kindergarten. How to make nice with people, how to develop relationships. What do you do when there's a conflict, right? You don't learn that sitting through a classroom, right? You learn those things outside of class. And that's, I mean, Keith and I, you know, Dean Palo and I, we meet every week. And, you know, extracurricular activities, those are so important to me, and we have to build them, we have to make them more robust. You know, one of the initiatives Keith's responsible for, Dean Palo is responsible for, is the university experience. You know, it's my belief. Now, you know, I went to school in a different era, almost 40 years ago. But you know, on a small kind of rural campus, so it's a little bit, you know, a little bit different. Plus, we didn't have all the distractions and things going on that you have now. And you know, living in downtown, there's so many things to do. But we used to have all college events. where, you know, the events are just not focused on the student, but the entire university community. And, you know, I made a hell of a lot of friends in college, but I also made a lot of friends with staff members and with faculty members who I had just as robust a relationship with and who were mentors of mine. And it was through, you know, those all campus, all college experiences. And so we're trying to get faculty and staff to come to more activities and things on campus to kind of create this comprehensive environment. So I think it's critical. That's where the big learning takes place. That's where you're really gonna, you know, I mean, I made some wildly incredible mistakes as a student leader. That thank God I made those mistakes then when my job wasn't on the line, money wasn't on the line, you know. Thank God I had those opportunities. If I didn't have those opportunities, I would have, you know, I would have screwed a lot of things up when there was a lot on the line, right? So, and you know, I applaud what you guys are doing in these roles here. Incredibly important. You're going to benefit so much from it, but we need to create more opportunities. We need to get more students engaged. More students engaged. Because they're going to do better in school too. They're going to persist, they're going to do better in school. You know, they're going to have friends. It's important to have friends, someone you can call a friend. We need to do everything we can to improve engagement.
You were talking, whoa, sorry. There was you talked about how you kind of changed like the marketing perspective to get more students, you know, more students enrolled into Point Park. But there was also a change that was on the like Point Park's common data set that we publish every year for the 24-25 year, where talent and abilities marker of like how we decide who comes to school was moved from very important to no longer considered in the 24-25 year. I was wondering if you had any comment about what may have caused that change, if you were even a part of that decision.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not either.
What was this again?
On like Point Park posts like a common data, like every college posts like a common data set pretty much, where it's like, oh, here's how many students we have,
Yeah.
and there's a part of it that's like, here's what we consider in first year admissions pretty much. And right now the only things considered are, you know, your academic GPA and your rigor of secondary school. Talent and ability, which is specifically from that big like 40-page sheet, was considered a very important thing for first year students in the 23 to 24 year and years before too. But in the 24-25 year, it was no longer considered in first year admissions. I don't know if you could define what that is or how that affects your academic enrollment, who you decide to bring.
Yeah, I have no idea about that. I know it's critically important in the performing arts. You know, when we admit students, we admit them in the conservatory. They have to be admitted artistically, which is talent and performance, and academically. So they still do that. So I don't know.
Cool.
Just something, we brought up athletics, and we've mentioned this topic a couple of times, but I've been speaking to student athletes recently, and I know that with our admission to the NCAA, I'm sure that their population will continue to grow. Could you offer any updates in regards to the direction our growing athletics program is going, and any things Point Park is currently working on in regards to athlete life?
Yeah. So we need facilities. I mean, that's my goal. We need to have facilities not only for athletes but for students overall. You need a place to hang out. You need a place to work out. You need a place to pick up an intramural game, whatever. We need space. So that's the priority. Like I said, athletics, builds a lot of dynamics and makes the culture more diverse. And so we're adding, this year we're recruiting, next year we'll start play men and women's lacrosse, men and women's wrestling. Lacrosse and soccer play at Highmark Stadium, probably the best facility in NCAA Division II, which is, we lack facilities, but that facility is the best. There's been some national championships there, played there. So that's taking place. The we're looking at a couple other sports. One is in the NCAA, they have acrobatics and tumbling. We're analyzing that. We're also looking at, and I'm pushing, women's flag football. It's not offered in the NCAA yet, but I'm proposing that we be a school to at least pilot. It's taking off, just like women's wrestling, just overnight. And I wrestled in college. It's just amazing to me how women's wrestling has just taken off at the high school level. And so quickly became sanctioned as an NCAA sport. I think that women's flag is going to be even more popular. So we're looking to add those. And again, the non-NCAA sports and clubs are very important to us. Dance, cheer, esports, the pep band. We're adding intramurals. I wouldn't be opposed to things like rugby and things like that. I mean, whatever our students are open to, we'll support.
We had one of the strongest rugby teams in the city of Pittsburgh at one time. And again, it all depends on leadership, as you all know. And it was at a height, and then it's kind of at all schools, because we had a conference right here in Pittsburgh with Pitt, CMU, Duquesne, Robert Morris. I mean, we had fierce rivalries, especially with CMU in the day, and we'd play at Highmark Stadium, and it would be, I'd love to see that come back, to the president's point. But we'll continue to see what interest. And just to follow up on Dr. Brsalis' question, you had asked about cheer dance. We actually added hip hop to cheer dance. The one thing that was promised when they went from the NCAA, because they're not recognized, because NAI they were, as President Brsalis had said, we had said we're going to continue to compete nationally, which we are, and we're doing very well. And we're going to add hip hop in order to give, just like the dance program did, because there are more competitions nationally for hip hop dancing now in that cheer dance venue, and you can still compete nationally. So Bettina Harold, who's been our coach since the very first day we have that, continues to grow that program, and we're excited to continue that. So just to answer that question, the emphasis is still, even though it's non-NCAA, it's still important to the institution.
Anything else? Again, I really, I applaud you and I thank you for your leadership. Your leadership is critically important, and meet with Kyle and Dylan regularly. Anything you need, I mean, I'm here. I came out of retirement for this. I was playing golf for the first time in my whole career. For me, when you get to the fourth quarter of the game, which I'm definitely in the fourth quarter, I don't know if there's 2 minutes left on the clock or 15 minutes left on the clock. I've never actually seen a U-Haul following a hearse. Never seen that. I'm fortunate to have an opportunity to have impact before my number's called. And this is just so exciting because, I'm able to provide my skills and leadership skills to a university that I've come to love. I met and became familiar with this university 20 years ago, just because of one of my clients, the CEO of one of the major banks, 50,000 person bank, was the board chair. And I've grown to know this school and love this school. And this is an opportunity for me to give back and to try to have impact. Plus, my wife is happy to get me out of the house. But that's the only reason I'm here. I'm here to serve you. So if there's anything we can do to make your experience, improve your experience, and hopefully improve and enhance the value of this precious asset that you're going to get when you're done here, this degree. Let me know. I mean, Dean Palo and I mean, we're all ears. We don't have any preset notions, this is, we're open. And, crazy ideas have come out, that's not a bad idea, let's give it a try. You don't take risks, things don't happen. As you're familiar with the sport of hockey, there's a correlation between shots on goal and number of goals you score. You have to try. One thing you can't do is the same old thing because you're going to die. This university would die, like a lot of other schools are dying, if you don't do things differently. We're going to thrive, and we're going to grow. So, that's thanks to you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to President Rosales for coming to speak with us today. I really appreciate it. And with that, since we have gone through all of our other things, I will say that our next Ledgebug meeting will be next Monday, March 24th, 2025. And with that, I adjourn our meeting at 4:33 p.m.